Let's get into it. What a week. We now go live as President Trump begins his 2025 State of the Union address.
This is a global Telly prepaid call from
Donald Trump.
That's right. On Monday, Donald Trump flew from Florida to New York for his arraignment in a Manhattan courthouse.
He's just about to take off on that plane now. I think the wheels just leaving the tarmac now. Trump on his way to New York, a different angle there.
This marks the first time in American history that someone's life has gotten worse after leaving Florida. Ahead of his arrival, New York City Mayor Eric Adams had this warning for one of the president's most unhinged supporters.
People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is known to spread misinformation and hate speech. She stated she's coming to town. While you're in town, be on your best behavior.
You're not New York's high school principal. You don't get to tell visitors to, shape up. I don't like that. He also said it while dangling a sewer rat menacingly above a vat of acid like a Batman villain. I don't like when the mayor acts like he's the city's dad. You're not. You're just the mayor. I don't like when any politician acts like the parent of the area. We don't work for you. People get nuts in the city. That's the whole point. I don't know. It's a weird thing to say. Be on your best behavior? What are you, Judge Judy? Dear Abby? Shut up. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to come here and get freaky. That's what she should do. I don't like it, but it's a free country. For now. It's unclear if Greene agreed to respect the mayor's wishes. All we know is she stepped off the plane, ripped the cork out of a bottle of scotch, and said, "Hey, it's January 6 o'clock somewhere." Later, Marjorie Taylor Greene took aim at the fifth character in Sex and the City herself.
I compared it to what I called Gotham City. The streets are filthy. They're covered with people basically dying on drugs. They can't even stand up. They're falling over. There's so much crime in the city. I can't comprehend how people live there.
60 Minutes, but it's a full interview about how fucking stupid it is to say, as I call it, Gotham City. A, like you invented it, and B, not knowing Gotham City is New York City. When we wonder how we are dealing with such stupid people who seem to have so much influence and attention, I did decide to employ artificial intelligence to make a helpful illustration. The power is in the fascism. The moron riding the fascism thinks they're powerful. You see what I'm saying? Also, imagine if Adam Schiff went on Rachel Maddow and said, "Just got back from rural Tennessee. What a backwater piece of shit. What a dump of an empty wasteland. The stench is unbearable as the culture. Yuck, 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 stinky, stinky." I mean, it's like, why is this allowed? It's inconceivable. And as we all know, Adam Schiff is the Marjorie Taylor Greene of the left. Just had to pick somebody. There's no equivalent. Anyway, as expected, Trump pleaded not guilty to 34 felony charges related to falsifying business records, and Trump's indictment went beyond payments received by Stormy Daniels, citing a $30,000 hush money payment to a former Trump Tower doorman who claimed he had information about a child that Trump allegedly fathered outside of his marriage. A leaked transcript of a conversation with that doorman has revealed that the child was born in the summer of 1982 to a woman in New York. And wait a minute, this can't be right. He says here he hosts a topical comedy podcast tackling politics and culture. My God, that witch was right. It's all happening. I didn't commit. My God, what that witch said is all coming. All right, after the judge, leave it, who cares? Leave it all in. After the judge specifically warned the former president not to publicly comment on his case lest he jeopardize the rule of law, Trump flew back to Florida and immediately did it anyway, giving this speech from Mar-a-Lago.
And this is where we are right now. I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family.
Trump has repeatedly maligned the judge, even as his own lawyer has tried to walk it back.
But President Trump has attacked the judge. Is that your team's official legal position? Do you believe the judge is biased? No, I don't believe the judge is biased. I mean, the president's entitled to his own opinion. Look, he's been the victim of a political persecution.
This is how Trump, a former president of the United States, ends up with lawyers with a vibe that screams, I'm on a billboard and I'll fight for you. You got this guy, and then you have the guy who represented Trump in impeachment who said Philadelphia.
These depositions should be done in person, in my office, in Philadelphia. That's where they should be done.
I love that. Remember that guy? That guy ruled. These are the lawyers the former president gets. After complaining for a while about his various legal predicaments in front of the bored Mar-a-Lago crowd, Trump went wide with it, cycling back to, you guessed it, Hillary's emails.
Hillary Clinton got rid of 33,000 emails, and that was okay.
At some point, it's like, Hillary should just call their bluff. I know no one charged me or is even investigating this anymore, but I'll do 6 months if everyone promises to shut the fuck up about it. Then 6 months later, she's ruling that Danbury Minimum Security Correctional Facility like Adabisi. I'm done here. Put me in with the men. You know what I mean? Senator Lindsey Graham went on Fox News to make an impassioned plea for viewers to give as much money to Trump as possible.
But you need to help this man, Donald J. Trump. They're trying to drain him dry.
But Lindsey, if Trump weren't so eager for people to drain him dry, he wouldn't be in this mess. I feel like you didn't laugh hard enough at that 10 out of 10 joke. Sometimes you're wrong. Meanwhile, the Washington Post reported that the DOJ has evidence that Trump obstructed their investigation into mishandling of classified documents. Allegedly, they have evidence that he personally went through cases of classified documents after receiving the DOJ subpoena. I think there's a chance this might be on video, which I cannot wait for. That marks twice this week Trump has gotten in trouble for rummaging around in the wrong boxes. You know what's funny? I knew that reaction was coming because I was here for the first joke, but you didn't know the second one was coming. In a sign of how captive the Republican Party has become to the former president, the Republican National Convention has been moved from Milwaukee to Rikers Island. On Tuesday, liberal judge Janet Protasiewicz won her Wisconsin Supreme Court race, defeating former Supreme Court Justice Dan Kelly and giving liberals control of the state's highest court for the first time in 15 years. And thank you to everyone at Vote Save America who volunteered and who donated to help draw attention and resources to that race. It really made a difference. Brian, the cheese curd drop. Release the cheese curds. Said Dan Kelly in his bitchy little concession speech.
I wish that in a circumstance like this, I would be able to concede to a worthy opponent. But I do not have a worthy opponent to which I can concede.
To whom, you fuck? So you're saying you lost to someone who sucks. You must be even more dog shit at your job than everybody thought. It is amazing how much of our anti-democratic backsliding is rooted in like the ego wounds of men like this. Like this is why Trump is the perfect avatar for the modern Republican Party. We can't lose because it's embarrassing. I don't have a joke. It's just the reality of our fucking situation. In worse news, about 15 million people on Medicaid could lose their health insurance in the coming months now that a requirement that states not kick people off Medicaid during the COVID pandemic has come to an end. With the government declaring the pandemic over, we can finally get back to dying from every other kind of disease. Millions of people who lose their Medicaid coverage may still be eligible for it, but have to re-enroll. And in states that haven't expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, hundreds of thousands could wind up in the coverage gap with incomes that are too high to qualify for Medicaid, but too low for subsidized coverage through ACA marketplaces. In case it wasn't clear what a fucking nightmare this is, there are currently 90 million people on Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program, roughly 20 million more than when the pandemic began. You look at the Middle Ages and think, how could a surgeon also be a barber and a dentist? In 2023, you're waiting 7 months for an appointment with that person, and he stopped taking your insurance in January. Too dark? Nobody's talking about this Medicaid story. I feel like I'm in outer space. I feel like it should be a bigger news. Meanwhile, Republicans, so that's why it's here. You just have to, is it a little boring? You bet it is. Is it less cool than the Trump arraignment? Of course it is, but that's why we're in this mess. That's all I'm saying. Don't applaud that. We don't go for clapter here. We go for dead silence. Meanwhile, Republicans in the GOP-controlled Tennessee House have moved to expel 3 Democratic lawmakers who participated in a gun control protest at the state capitol. As of this recording, they successfully expelled 2 of them while failing on the third. Is anti-democratic. There's no precedent for it. In a letter to House members, Representative Justin Pearson wrote, "If this House decides to expel me," it later did, "for exercising our sacred First Amendment right to help elevate the voices in our community who want to see us act to prevent gun violence, then do as you feel you must." Now, it's hard to hear over the ambient gunfire Tennessee Republicans keep constantly filling the air with over there, but I think I got the gist of it. For those keeping score, Tennessee Republicans chose not to expel a literal pedophile, but have targeted these 3 legislators for the crime of thinking protesting gun violence is cool. Meanwhile, Kansas's Republican-controlled legislature overrode a veto from the Democratic governor to pass the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, taking over the decision from districts and leagues to ban trans girls from sports at public schools and colleges in the state. Our political process isn't perfect, but every now and then, 112 Americans put their differences aside and come together for a common cause, crushing one teenager's dreams. Because of the 106,000 high school student athletes in Kansas, there are currently only 3 trans girls competing at the high school level, 2 of whom are graduating this year, meaning this law currently targets 1 single transgender teenage girl. When reached for comment, the one teenage girl affected said, "Oh no, I can't be on the track team. I didn't even want to do track this year. My mom made me do it. So it doesn't even matter. I was going to quit anyway. No one cool does track at my school. Get out of my room." Because not all teenage trans girls have to be heroes. When asked earlier this year how the law would be enforced, the Republican who introduced the legislation said it would happen during the student-athlete's sports physical. When a Democrat pressed her on whether that meant students would be subjected to a genital inspection, the lawmaker refused to answer, though the Republican legislator was wearing this ominous shirt. It's a female body inspector shirt. Also, it turns out for more than 20 years, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been secretly accepting luxury trips from Dallas billionaire and GOP megadonor Harlan Crow, according to a new ProPublica story. Look, I'm not like a literary scholar, but I do know if you meet a well-dressed man named Harlan Crow and you enter into a deal with him, he is absolutely the literal devil, and you just sold your soul for access to, and this is from the article, a life-size replica of Hagrid's hut, bronze statues of gnomes, and a 1950s-style soda fountain where Crow's staff fixes milkshakes. The near annual trips, which Thomas never disclosed in an apparent violation of ethics laws, have included international vacations on Crow's super yacht, flights on Crow's enormous private jet, a jaunt to Bohemian Grove together, and trips to Crow's own ranch in Texas and private resort in the Adirondacks. But that's basically it. I always thought it was strange that Justice Thomas's robe had a huge Crow Holdings logo emblazoned on it like he's a NASCAR driver. Clarence Thomas is out here just breezing around the world as if he's some kind of optometrist who's crashed into Gwyneth Paltrow on a ski slope. Meanwhile, here's what Thomas had to say about himself in public in a 2020 documentary. "I don't have any problem with going to Europe, but I prefer the United States, and I prefer seeing the regular parts of the United States. I prefer the RV parks. I prefer the Walmart parking lots to the beaches and things like that. There's something normal to me about it. I come from regular stock and I prefer that. I prefer being around that." After this statement, you know this guy has never been to a non-billionaire beach, because if he had, he would know it does not get more regular stock than a public beach on a Saturday in August in the United States of America. America's beaches make Walmart parking lots look like James Bond's Monaco. He also said all this in a documentary funded by Harlan Crow. Also this week, the University of Western Australia announced that scientists had managed to film a snailfish in the unplumbed ocean trenches off Japan, setting a new record for the deepest fish ever recorded. Here to weigh in on that discovery, it's the world's deepest fish. It's the world's deepest fish, everybody.
Hey, John.
Uh-oh, are you okay?
Clearly, no. I mean, are any of us okay, John? Trapped as we are in mortal bodies with cruelty and injustice all around us. I need to stop smiling. on a doomed planet that will one day be consumed by our dying sun, what can be okay with that? What can okay even mean in these conditions? Did you understand any of that?
Whoa. That's pretty deep. You see that? They just now they're in. Now they're in for a penny. We got them right where we want them.
They get it now. Let's keep going. You know what? What can I say, Jon? I'm the deepest fish. Also, Succession is in its final season, and I'm just prematurely bummed about that being over. You know what I mean? But everything ends, I suppose. Even this.
So
gestures to stage the audience.
So deepest fish. This is embarrassing. When the scientists said they found the world's deepest fish, I just assumed they meant like physically.
Oh, I'm also that. Physically and also profound. They found me They found me.
Where'd they find you?
They found me. Can you believe it? They found me more than 8,000. Yep. I was down there not studying facts about myself. I was living, you know.
Yeah.
But they found me more than 8,000 meters below the surface.
Well, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. You set a new record. Are you excited?
Am I excited about the latest expansion of the transnational surveillance state?
Oh no. Fish know about that?
I swam to the depths of the Pacific Ocean for privacy, Jon. I just wanted a quiet place to eat my plankton and reflect on the nature of truth and beauty. But I guess there's nowhere left you can go without some stranger filming your slimy ass for a TikTok. Do you have... Anyway, my question for you is...
What's your question?
Do you have any clove cigarettes on you?
No, I don't. No one does anymore. The scientists put you on TikTok?
I don't actually know. I'm not on there. I'm more of a Tumblr girly.
Yeah, it tracks.
Yeah, I just want to be left alone. Records mean nothing to me. Recognition is ephemeral. What does that word mean? I mean, I'm using it, so who are we when we aren't being perceived, you know? When we leave performance behind and confront our authentic selves on the ocean floor, no light, no reflection, nothing but your condition. That's what I'm interested in.
God, you're deep.
I know.
The world's deepest fish, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. It's gefilte fish.
Okay.
All right.
I've been staring. Gefilte fish. Gefilte fish is murder. All right, bye, everyone. That's it.
World's deepest fish. Thanks for stopping by. That went great. It was profound, you see? The world's deepest fish. We had no choice. It was great. In other distressing news, Rupert Murdoch and his fiancée Anne Leslie Smith have abruptly called off their engagement after just 2 weeks. Things fell apart after Miss Smith met a handsome, destitute traveler in the lower decks of Rupert's yacht. She had made peace with her comfortable and passionless life, but dancing into the night, she felt something she'd never known before. Was it freedom? Was it love? It didn't matter. She'd die to feel it again. In a statement through his lawyers, Murdoch somberly explained, May, December, I hardly know her. I don't care, that could be for me. It just goes to show, it doesn't matter how sexy, handsome, and likable you are. Sometimes things just don't work out. As if that weren't enough of a terrible week for Rupert, a judge in Delaware said he would compel Murdoch to testify in the Fox News Dominion defamation trial. Murdoch sobbing on the stand, "The truth is like love, I've never known either." Experts say the last remaining obstacle to receiving Murdoch's testimony is making sure someone is waiting at the door to the courthouse to formally invite him inside. Look out, Joe! Prominent anti-vaxxer Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has filed paperwork to run for president as a Democrat. Imagine seeing Marianne Williamson announcing she's running and thinking, you know what this primary needs? A real kook. A new bipartisan bill, the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, seeks to prevent uncharismatic animals from going extinct. Basically, this bill hopes to allocate resources once reserved for glamorous species like polar bears and bald eagles and refocus efforts on what scientists refer to as the incels of the animal kingdom. U.S. military officials have said that since the pandemic, they've seen an increase in obesity-related health problems in their troops, and this year are struggling to reach recruitment goals, as 3/4 of Americans aged 17 to 24 are ineligible for military service, with weight being the most common reason. Now we finish the job, said President Xi of China, as balloons in the stratosphere began releasing their payloads of nacho cheese over every major American city. The Army is considering retiring "Be All You Can Be" to test a new slogan. Nothing tastes as good as war feels. Rapper and Tiger King fanfish character Kid Rock responded to Bud Light's endorsement of trans activist Dylan Mulvaney by shooting up a stack of Bud Lights. Bring out the ceremonial Bud Lights for justice. Hi, Hallie.
We were going to actually shotgun them, but there's a rug, and we wanted to be respectful. I can't do it.
I can't do it. Get out.
So bad.
I don't think this is going to do anything. Get out of here. Get out of here, Allie. We're not cool. Well, that was... What the fuck was that? Man. This week, Variety reported that in 2008... Oh, this is wild. CNN's Don Lemon was so steamed about his then-colleague Kira Phillips getting an assignment in Iraq over him that he tore up notes on her desk and allegedly sent her a text from a burner phone that read, "Now you've crossed the line and you're going to pay for it." It just goes to show you gay villains aren't just a Disney stereotype. They're real, and they're at the Boost Mobile picking up cyberbullying devices. What was that plan? Step 1, send the text. Step 2, I go to Iraq? What? Also, what a fucking prize. Over the weekend, Pope Francis was discharged after a multiple-day hospitalization. He continues to blame Gwyneth Paltrow for the ski collision. You know what I just realized sitting here? Gwyneth Paltrow can never get into another incident on a ski slope. You know what I mean? We'll all blame her. There's no question, right? Like, oh, it happened again? NASA announced the 4-person crew of the Artemis II, which will be the first crewed mission to the moon in more than 50 years. The crew includes the first person of color to go on a moon mission, as well as the first woman. It's crazy how far women have to travel for an abortion now. Anyway, the idea to send a woman to the moon was initially proposed in 1955 by Ralph Cramden. The Artemis II mission will do a flyby of the moon, but won't land on it. This is known as lunar edging, and astronauts believe the moon is super into it. Meanwhile, in Montana, a train carrying Blue Moon and Coors Light derailed, spilling cases of beer across a riverbank. This just in, cool train finally derails. The beer survived the initial derailment, only to be tragically gunned down by Kid Rock. And finally, Parisians have overwhelmingly voted to ban rental e-scooters from the city's streets. Fun fact, they're not considered Lime scooters unless they're from the Lime region of just throwing them fucking anywhere.